I think that decision-making rights is the cutting civil rights issue for people with disabilities, particularly people with developmental disabilities and older adults. I think we're finally at a place where we're beginning to recognize the fundamental rights associated with decision-making and having the right to make your own choices with the support that you need and want.
So the first thing I want to kind of ask everybody to do for a minute is to kind of close your eyes and think about a couple of things. Think about, what if your life decisions were called into question by people close to you? What if your personal choices were used as evidence that you lacked capacity, that you could not, that it was inadequate, or it was in decline? And what if you were never given a chance to learn how to make decisions because others feared you'd make a mistake? Now, we all make decisions every day. Some are small decisions, some are really large decisions. And it's kind of what makes us an actor in our own lives. Sometimes when people with disabilities or older adults, they're judged differently. They're not allowed to make the same kind of mistakes that I know I learned from when I grew up over time. And so I always want us to kind of come from this place of what if when we talk about these kinds of issues, which are very personal issues. Decision-making is part of who we all are.
Supported decision-making in Indiana is a way to accommodate the decision-making process that we all go through. The person chooses their own supporters, they choose the area of their life where they want that support to be given, and they choose how that they want that support to be given. It can be used for any number of areas of life. It can be used with one supporter, multiple supporters. The requirements in Indiana are that the person's over 18 and that if they write it down into a supported decision-making agreement, that agreement be notarized.
I think supported decision-making is getting a lot more traction for people with developmental disabilities in the United States, and I think there's not a real recognition that it really can work across disability and across age group. So supported decision-making really is something everyone uses. You and I use it every day when we have to think through a decision that we have to make. It's also something that people who have developmental disabilities, who have psychosocial disabilities, who have traumatic brain injuries, who are older adults with dementia, they can use supported decision-making too. So I think a common misconception is that it only applies to a certain population of people.
The beauty of supported decision-making is that it can really be used for any area of a person's life. Some common ones that you may see are secondary or adult education, employment, community living, services and supports, all types of things. It could be anything from relationships or spirituality or volunteer work, whatever the person needs, wherever they feel that they might need help making decisions. The supported decision-making agreement can be used to help support that.
I think supported decision-making should not be just something you're talking about when someone's approaching 18. I think you need to be starting talking about it earlier. You need to start to talk about how are you as a child going to engage in some self-advocacy and build decision-making skills over time. And I think a great way of trying to document that supported decision-making is through the Individualized Education Plan, or the IEP, to really build in decision-making skills as a goal that you gradually improve upon over time. And it's a test drive opportunity for the parent too, so that they can get more confidence in the person being able to make their own decisions when they get to reach 18.
The change in the law in 2019 covers two things. The first is that it adds a requirement to a petition for guardianship that the petitioner discusses whether less restrictive alternatives were considered or implemented prior to filing a petition for guardianship. The second change to the law is it legally recognizes supported decision-making as a less restrictive alternative to guardianship. And it goes over various components of how to enter into a supported decision-making agreement, how to terminate one, and the various requirements and components for having a valid supported decision-making agreement.
So studies after studies after studies have shown over the decades that people with disabilities who have greater self-determination in their lives have better life outcomes. Self-determination is a fancy way of saying they're actors in their own lives. They're acting rather than being acted upon. So people with disabilities who have greater self-determination in their lives are going to be healthier, both psychologically and physically. They're going to be more integrated into their communities. They're going to be better employed. All of these life outcomes are really important to think about when we think about decision making.
The best thing to do would be to contact Indiana Disability Rights as a first step. We have a great website that can provide a lot of the basic information, as well as referrals to things like legal resources and information on how to move forward if supported decision making is what you want to choose.